Hello guys, Marky here, back to ravage your ears with my dulcet tones. I do hope you enjoyed today's episode of r/relationship advice, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the Barbie, and let's go. Cheers. Posted by user MNthrow, titled, My friend, 30s male, just got married, but I, 28 female, did not attend because my crazy ex/stalker boyfriend was going to attend. But I didn't send in an official RSVP. So I received the online save the date and of course replied yes. Then I was scrolling through the guest book and saw my ex's name. When I saw his enthusiastic reply of yes, my heart figuratively stopped. I felt cold inside and I started hyperventilating. Here's some information on my ex. This man abused me for months. He isolated me from my friends and family, used me for money and sex, and then cheated on me. He made me feel crazy for confronting him about his drug use, about the girls hanging around him, and I had just eventually stopped asking him because I wanted to keep him happy. When he moved away for a few months and we were long distance, he had friends that would report back to him if I went out with friends. He would confront me on our Skype chats about me being out with guy friends, unchaperoned, and would forbid me to go out without a chaperone. I eventually caved and didn't go out with any of my friends unless they were the girls that he knew, or I just stayed home. I lost contact with many friends and my family, but then we were engaged, and something broke within me when I realized I would have to give up everything to be with him, and I envisioned myself either dead or wanting to be dead when I saw our future together. When I finally broke it off for good with him, he had previously installed a keylogger into my phone and computer, is that the official term? And was able to see everything I sent and did. He threatened to off himself if I didn't talk to him, so I said, go right ahead, and notified his mum that he was making threats against his life. I told her that if he contacted me again, I was going to go to the cops. She said she would take care of it. A few nights later, I went to a late-night movie by myself, and I got a call saying that he was right outside my apartment. He saw my light on and just wanted to talk. I was not there at the time, and he had a history of stalking and previous allegations of abusing his ex-girlfriends. The next day, I started the proceedings to get a restraining order out on him. Fun fact, they are really hard to get, and the order of protection was granted for 1 year, and I had moved on. I got a new laptop, phone, and changed my address. He was blocked on Facebook, and I deleted all of our mutual Facebook friends so they couldn't report back to him on me. Back to current day, seeing him RSVP to a mutual friend's wedding threw me off kilter. My current boyfriend was unable to attend with me, as he had to be at work, so I didn't want to go alone. I meant to email the groom and explain how I didn't want my drama to overshadow his wedding, and that he may not have been aware of the crazy ex-drama that happened a couple of years ago, but I saved it as a draft and never dealt with it. I pushed it to the back of my mind and was focusing on work and school. But I got the email reminding me about the wedding, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't show up. I sent the newly married couple an Amazon package from their wedding registry with my apologies and offers to take them out to dinner after their honeymoon, but I don't know how to ask him now. Question: how do I bring this up to the groom? How do I explain why I didn't reply and why I didn't show up? Do I just go into detail about the horrible things my ex did? Do I show them a copy of the restraining order? Do I just continue to ignore and later message the groom to just take them out for dinner? In the comments, on her friendship with the groom, OP says, technically the ex was friends with the groom before I met him. They were church buddies when they were young, but my ex moved away when he was a teenager, and I met the groom in college. His sister and I were in choir together in high school. My hometown is small, and we bonded over the love of rock music. So time-wise, ex knew him longer, but I think I know him better as an adult. I did decrease my contact with the groom after the breakup because I did think the same thing. How could he be friends with such a monster? I cut contact with all the people who were friends with the ex because I didn't know if they would report back to the ex. But I would still go to his rock shows and occasionally text him until he got really serious with his now wife, and then we sort of just followed each other on Facebook. If I tell the groom about what happened to me, would it decrease my chances of seeing the ex again? I don't ever want to see the ex again in this lifetime or the next. Part of me was hoping that he was dead or in jail. How do I stop trying to please everyone? It's a personal issue that I've worked on after this whole debacle, but it's this whole obedient daughter mindset that I grew up with that I'm rewarded eventually for bending over backwards to please everyone around me. On why the groom didn't know about the abuse and how her ex got away without anyone knowing, OP says, he didn't know about the abuse. I just told him that it was an ugly breakup, and he said that he was sorry the ex and I were no longer together because we made such a good couple. I was such a good influence on him, etc. My ex is very good at manipulating people. The man has a high school degree but is a whiz at technology things. He was a part of the anonymous group that hacked into things and was very schmoozy when in groups. He had that way of talking to people that made him very popular. He's a horrible person, but his dad abused his mum growing up, so I guess it was part of him. It made it normal to him to abuse me and all of his other girlfriends. Beers and Bears says, if they're still on their honeymoon, just leave it alone for now. Give it a week or two after they come back and see if they respond to your messages and apologies. If not, reach out, say that you'd like to explain, apologize, and take them out to dinner, etc. I don't think you necessarily need to go into detail. If they're your friends, there's a good chance they'll take you at your word. For what it's worth, we had very good friends who bailed on our wedding last minute, and we're still friends with them. Life goes on. OP says, my parents, small town, just saw them at the store. Does this mean that they're taking a local honeymoon? Do the 2 weeks still apply? Thanks. I'm glad that life goes on. I'm just sort of embarrassed that I didn't address this issue head on. If it were me personally in this situation, I think the 2 weeks would still apply, but it really depends person to person. Just let them have their nice honeymoon, let that grace period kind of settle, and then come to them with an apology and an explanation if it's at all necessary, but I feel like it is necessary in this instance. Perhaps they took a really short honeymoon, or it is just a local honeymoon. You know, we love saving money in this economy. I can see why OP would be embarrassed to not address the situation head on, but it's not like it's something that's easy to talk about, especially if everyone has this grand perception of him and you're unsure whether those people will believe you or not. I think in this instance, honesty is the best policy, and I really do think they will understand where you're coming from and why you didn't come to the wedding. You don't want a repeat of all of that trauma all over again. And you also don't want to start shit at their wedding and potentially ruin the day for them, like he very much well could have. And also, just one small thing that I picked up on, he has a high school degree, but is a whiz at technology things. He was a part of the anonymous group. No, he wasn't. He was not a part of Anonymous. I'm sure he's very good at manipulating people, that's for sure. But he's manipulated you to believe that he was part of Anonymous. Bro would be in jail right now if that was the truth. There is no universe I believe that. And now, onto the update. Thank you to all that gave me solid advice and nice PMs. You're all very nice, and I appreciate you all. Special thanks to user Yes I Left His Ass 2398 for the amazing advice, and I've saved her or his comments. So I took the advice of some to call my friend rather than send an impersonal email or Facebook message, and I left a nice voicemail offering to take him and his wife to dinner and apologizing for missing their wedding. He called back and squeezed me into their packed schedule before they leave for their honeymoon. I saw them last night for dinner. I gave them hugs and apologized again for missing their wedding. The groom said he vaguely remembered the bad breakup and the restraining order, but said that he thought that enough time had passed because their order of protection had expired. He also said that they sent out invites and saved the dates in waves, and the ex and I were in different waves. He said he thought that we could put our differences aside for one day for his special day. He said he had invited family members that didn't get along with one another with the expectations that everyone could put aside their issues for his wedding. I told him that I didn't want to see the ex ever again, especially being alone at that wedding, and wasn't comfortable at all attending. My friend acknowledged this, and then we had a good dinner and caught up since our college days. They confirmed they had received many gifts the day after their wedding. Then they said the ex had RSVP'd and volunteered to be the sound guy, MC and sound system, but did not show up. My friend had to man the sound system on his own wedding day. The groom and bride said they would have rathered me show up than the ex. We've made plans for me to see their house when they return from their honeymoon and hang out more frequently. They have an incredible collection of board games. It was a great dinner. TLDR, I apologize to my friend and his wife for my absence on their wedding day. They have forgiven me, and we are still friends. Edits, I want to thank everyone for your comments and messages. Truly, it took me reading the comments and advice from internet strangers to realize what shitty friends I had. This was my throwaway account, so I was reading all of the comments on my regular account and being unable to reply. Replying on mobile would have been difficult. Again, thank you all. I plan on being very low contact to no contact with the groom and his wife. I do deserve better friends than that, and it took the comments and kindness of internet strangers to reveal this to me. Thank you all, and here's hoping karma gets the groom and my ex. In the comments, 2 Oranges says, OP, you have horrible friends. Anyone who remembers a restraining order and thinks that it's just water under the bridge, or who doesn't give you a heads up that that kind of person has been invited to their wedding, is not a friend. This is not a happy ending. What the hell? Why are you apologizing when he intentionally tried to put you in that situation? This wasn't an accident. He planned for you and your abusive ex to need to confront each other at his wedding. Seriously, these are not your friends and they are not good people. You'd be better off putting your time and energy into other relationships. These are horrible people. What would have happened if OP didn't see his name on the list? Were they going to warn her that he would be there? I doubt it. This is terrible. I'm so worked up right now over this. OP, apologize all you want for not attending, but they owe you an apology for putting you in this position in the first place. Deliberately. Quote, he said he thought that we could put our issues aside for one day for his special day. Fun fact, a lack of empathy is a trait of narcissism. Your friend sounds horrible, and I hope your wedding gift was a pair of khakis. He almost sounds like a groomzilla who expects everyone to act a certain way just because it's his special day. No wonder he's friends with that loser ex. Also, I won't be surprised if he leaks information about OP to this stalker like an overflowing valve. Maybe he'll even gladly give the stalker information about OP because he believes he can fix things between his friends. The groom has a terrible attitude and is bad news for OP's future safety. Once the groom said that he was aware of the restraining order, he became the asshole. And then the audacity to say that he hoped everyone would put their shit aside for just one day to celebrate them, like her life hadn't been threatened by this man for so long? Wow. Judging by the attitudes in this thread, it isn't until somebody's body hits the ground that abuse is serious enough to take a stand. I pity his bride. Oh, you had a restraining order, but that expired, so we figured that it was just water under the bridge. What the hell is wrong with people? She still didn't explain the stalking or the abuse. These kinds of posts frustrate me. Also, like a restraining order is a normal thing to have between friends. Everyone has one. Facepalm. What's the big deal? We thought you could deal with the threats of bodily harm and death from an absolute psycho for our special day. Maybe try being less selfish in the future. Oh my god. How do you know about the restraining order and still be like, you know what, you kind of need to apologize for not coming. That was a bit of a dick move. And you know what, I would have preferred you there because once he found out that you weren't there, he didn't even come himself. It's like he didn't even care about the fact that it was my special day. Why won't you guys see eye to eye on this? I'm the real victim here. Though I can definitely see how in that moment you'd be like, oh yeah, you knew about the restraining order, but yeah, I guess we could have just put our differences aside, but you know, I just didn't want to be there. How you wouldn't put 2 and 2 together and be like, holy shit, you're trying to get me killed. He's gonna take the knife for the wedding cake and just stab me, isn't he? Oh my god. Thank God those people's masks slipped as well, OP. They are psychopaths just as much as your ex. What in God's name? Our next post is by user alarmedbed6196, titled, Husband is stealing my Adderall. Since about June 2023, I've been having my pills become mysteriously missing out of my bottle. I've been anywhere from 10 or less short each month. I am prescribed 30 and 10 milligram pills of Adderall a day. I couldn't figure out what was happening and didn't think that my husband would do that, but it consistently happened to me every month. 4 months ago, I confronted my pharmacy and said that they must be shorting me, and the pharmacist said the amount is signed off and verified by 2 pharmacists, including himself, the manager, before officially dispensing it into the jar. He said that I'd strongly suggest you look into someone in your home who was taking it from you. I thought he was wrong, but after that, I started having them count in front of me at the pharmacy before I left the store. Each time, it was 30 pills in each bottle, and yet again, I'd bring it home and be shorted as quick as the next day when I recounted. Last month, I decided to hide them in a different spot each day. Surprisingly, last month was the only month they were not taken. Yesterday, I came home, and my husband knew that I'd just picked them up, and I stupidly left them on the kitchen table and took a nap. He was downstairs where the pills were while I was napping. I verified the amount with the pharmacist prior to leaving the store, so I knew that I had the correct amount. When I woke up, I realized they were left out and brought them upstairs and hid them. I had not recounted them until this morning, and not to my surprise, there were already 3 pills missing. I confronted him for the first time and he said, "Oh, you must have dropped them on the floor somehow." I said I did not. I had them closed on the kitchen table while I was napping. I said, "I know you're taking them." Then explained to him how I've been counting them for months, and this pattern of missing pills now only leads me to him. He shrugged and said he didn't, but no real argument back because I feel like he knows he's been caught and can't put up a defense case against it. My suspicion has also grown because last week we were on vacation and he had a few glasses of wine and asked me if I would give him a pill. I said no and told him that I needed them. Side note, I'm in nursing school and need the pills more than ever to focus. Without the pills, I have no focus and am extremely tired and unmotivated. He knows how in need of them I am, and I feel so violated. Prior history. He used to do ecstasy when we first met 13 years ago. He was doing it behind my back for years, even after we had a child, and I honestly didn't even know. He would lock himself in another room and stay up all night and wouldn't sleep with me. He admitted the addiction and lies to me a few years ago. So there's that in terms of prior stimulant addictions. What should I do? I just went into the bedroom, kneeled on the floor sobbing and staring blankly at the walls in utter astonishment that this is happening to me. Now I'm here writing to you folks for advice. If you read this all, thank you for hearing me out. I know it was quite long. In the comments, you have a disability, but he's willing to forget that and make your education suffer so that he can meet his own needs. Imagine if you were blind, but he stole your cane a couple of days a week. Sure, you could get around generally by running your hands along the wall, but he's willing to watch you suffer while he plays around with your cane. 1/3 of your pills means that in the last 6 months, he has left you without medication for a full 2 months. Even more alarming, you're going to be a nurse. If you make errors in patient care because you could not be attentive, you may accidentally harm or kill someone. He's not only risking your education and career, his actions will likely put patients in very real danger. I agree with everyone else. Look after yourself, which means locking up your meds so you can access them when you need them, and demand that he seeks addiction treatment. Do not take no for an answer. OP's response was, "That was so well said. I am saving your comment. Thank you so much for your reply." OP, aside from the many great responses you've received, you should also know that Adderall for normal people's brains is basically wank time. There is a porn stash that he's been using with your pills, most likely. OP replies, "Wow, that makes so much sense. He doesn't sleep in bed with me either. He has had an issue with that stuff in the past when he was doing drugs behind my back. I bet that he's doing that again." I thought this was odd too. Unless he's gaming and interacting with people online after taking it. I wouldn't see ecstasy as a stimulant in the same way as other drugs like speed or cocaine though. I think it's actually classed as a psychedelic, and I'm not sure it's addictive, or that you'd look for stimulants to replace it. OP says, "I'm the OP and knew that he had a porn addiction back then. I was thinking he took the X and then would interact with virtual reality porn girls alone in the room was my thoughts when he confessed." I agree with other peeps posting, you are underreacting to this. He's playing it off as no big thing. It's not him, it must be you. That is a huge, massive, fluorescent red flag. He's using your ADHD against you because it's convenient and he sees you as easily manipulated. He was also previously addicted to ecstasy. Several things. 1. Your husband needs to understand that there is a stimulant shortage and your medication count is tightly controlled. By taking your pills, he is saying that his pleasure is more important than your day-to-day functioning. 2. The lying and stealing is concerning behavior of the sort displayed by addicts and people with personality disorders. This isn't a safe situation for either of you, and he needs to get professional help. And 3. In the meantime, get a secure lockbox for your medication. Number 1 is such a huge fact. The medication aside, someone who believes that their entitlement is more important than your well-being and safety is a dangerous person. I am saying this as passionately as I can as someone who had to escape abuse from a dangerously abusive man that believed that he was more entitled to unleash his rage against my body and endanger my life than he believed I deserved safety and respect. Addictions make nothing seem more important than the next high, which can lead to usually kind and empathetic people doing terrible things. It's not a rational decision because addiction isn't rational. It says very little about his beliefs, but that absolutely does not mean that you should put up with this. It's understandable if this behavior crossed a line that you can never get back from, no matter why it occurred, and you're absolutely not wrong in leaving him for this. And now, onto the updates. After all your responses, I ended up going through his things and found out that you were all right. I found something else that I never thought he would do, but now explains everything perfectly, and you all called it. He now had to admit to it. I told him to go get help and that I could file a report against him, as well as all the lies and distrust he has now broken. He broke down crying and pulled out the depression card. Of course, you're depressed, you're lying, stealing. Of course you're depressed. You're lying, stealing, and doing drugs. Who knows what else he's doing? I currently have not spoken to him since confronting him this afternoon. I'm reading your messages on how to act and progress on my issue. It's not an easy leave as I have no parents or family, nor a job. I am a full-time nursing student. Thank you again. In the comments, Lost Raven Blue says, I would never be able to trust my spouse again. Oof, nope. I take 10 milligrams of Ritalin and it's enough so I can do the dishes, finish my laundry, have enough executive function to do basic tasks. I can't imagine how betrayed I'd feel if someone I loved was stealing the pills that allowed me to function like a person so that they could jerk off. That's the thing, right? It's not about the Adderall. It's the lack of trust, the disrespect, the lack of empathy and compassion, the selfishness, the blatant lying to OP's face, the denial of addictions, and the complete disregard for OP in general. And there's a child involved, which makes this a lot worse in my opinion. I doubt the Adderall is his only drug he's currently taking, and if it is, it won't be for long. OP's script quantity is small in comparison to some. He's definitely going to want more as the 10 milligrams doesn't feel as good anymore, but she only has 30 for a month, which honestly isn't much. He's going to increase the amount he's taking over time until it's not enough, so he'll eventually find something else to fill the void. It's time for OP to divorce her husband. She has lived with a liar with no concern for her well-being her entire marriage. Investing time and money in therapy is, in this case, prolonging the inevitable. A friend stole my Adderall, another friend would ask for some because, fun! My mother, after accusing me of drug abuse because she decided that I was too thin, wanted some because she figured that she could maybe lose some weight too. And so I lost my shit on them. They don't get to denigrate me and my diagnosis, because they did, only to do an about face and suddenly decide that Adderall is suddenly acceptable because of the potential for a good time. This is not a package of Jolly Ranchers to be handed out willy-nilly. I have a diagnosis, I go to a psychiatrist for treatment, and a regular monthly prescription that needs to be provided to the pharmacy. Both cost money and take time. Without medication, my quality of life suffers. But somehow it's okay to reduce that to a vodka chaser and appetite suppressant? F the F off. Well, this post really chapped my ass. It's really not that hard to be a decent person. Just don't be a dick and steal people's meds, or downplay their importance in a person's life. And And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!